Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Lebanon Utility Service Board for Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. Let the record reflect that the meeting was properly advertised and that the full board is here tonight. Our General Manager, Ed Basquill, is attending a conference. And if you please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda tonight is the approval of our minutes from the June 9th, 2021 meeting. Everyone had a chance to review those minutes, and is there any questions or discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion we approve the minutes for June 9th, 2021.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Tim to approve the minutes from the June 9th, 2021 meeting. Any other questions or discussion on the minutes?
You'll all need to abstain from that, vote on that.
Right? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And let that record reflect that Jim Urban has abstained from that vote. Next item is the phone system upgrade, and we have Seth Bird here tonight to address that. Hi, Seth.
Hello, thank you. So the current utilities phone system and handsets are over 5 years old, and the IT department feels that it has reached the end of its useful life. A new phone system will not only provide up-to-date hardware and software, but will also provide some needed redundancy to our phone system and other quality of life improvements. So what we did is we asked, on behalf of Lebanon Utilities, we asked Sondy Solutions, who is our managed service provider for IT, to go out and get us 3 quotes from 3 different vendors for phone systems. Quotes were received from TeleWebTech, or TWT, Metronet, and Grandstream. When looking at the cost analysis between the 3, while Metronet had the lowest upfront cost, the recurring charges over time versus the others would put it more expensive over an estimated 5-year life of the new phone system. The Grandstream system had the highest monthly recurring charge on that, and the TWT had what was seen as the highest upfront charge, but has the lowest recurring charge monthly on that. So Sondy Solutions, besides them recommending 3CX as a system that they are familiar with and they thought was superior to the other phone system proposals, the 3CX system will be more cost effective, and it will allow us to maintain control over support and functionality, as opposed to Metronet and Grandstream really wasn't as much of a consideration due to the poor cost effectiveness and the IT department or Sondy Solutions opinion that it was an inferior product. So the total one-time costs for going with the TWT system will be between $6607 or $7107, and that's pretty much the cost of new desk phones and handsets, which are a one-time purchase, and some of the back-end hardware switching that's needed as well. That'll cover also the install and setup along with the purchase of those phones. There's then also, in the TWT proposal, $1,100 a month fee. It'll cover the monthly phone service and support and licensing for the phone system. Benefit is currently we pay $1,102 to AT&T for our current IP phone system that interfaces with our MyTel phone system, and that will be getting replaced, and we'll no longer be paying AT&T the $1,102, and basically we'll be replacing that with the $1,100 recurring to TWT for that system. So the IT department requests that the board approves the agreement with TWT to purchase a 3CX phone system and the appropriate handsets for a not to exceed of $7107 for the hardware, along with the recurring monthly service charges. I also do have Steve Clark here with Sondy Solutions, who is involved with the phone quotes. He's familiar with the system, so if you guys have any specific questions about the phone systems or the quote process, he'd be happy to answer those as well.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is that just for the utilities? Is that for the utility building, for the city?
So this portion that we're going is for the utilities. The phone system, you are correct, is also used by the city and the utilities. When talking to TWT, we got two separate proposals. Will be invoiced separately.
Okay.
The city will be invoiced separately. And Tanya Thayer has already been talked to and has given approval to Sandy to move forward with replacing their phone system as well.
So what's the cost for the city? Or,
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's a similar, so the city has more extensions, but they use fewer minutes per month. So, yeah, let me go to the microphone, sorry. The city has actually more extensions, but they use fewer minutes per month. So their setup cost initially with hardware is very similar. It's around $7,000. And then their monthly recurring is around $600 per month, because looking at current usage on the phone numbers that belong to the city and the phone numbers that belong to the utility, their monthly usage would be less. So there's around $600 per month, and then the utility is around $1,100 per month.
so this is just for the utilities,
This
okay.
this amount here is just for the utility, and they'll be invoiced separately.
All right,
Yes.
very good.
Hey Seth, I think I caught it in what you said earlier, but we do use a voice over IP, so is that right, system?
Yes, currently we use the Mitel system. We got it over 5 years ago with ShoreTel, and then Mitel bought ShoreTel. And then the back end where it interfaces out to kind of the phone network, if you will, is via an AT&T via what's called an IP Flex line. The new system will be new phones, but we'll be running it instead over our already existing internet lines that we use just for general internet. So that separate AT&T only line that was just used for phones will go away in this system. But yes, currently we are doing voice over IP, have been for quite a long time.
Good deal. All right. Anybody have any other questions for Seth on the phone system upgrade?
I have a question for the legal counsel. Have you reviewed the TWT service agreement and found it to be acceptable?
I have reviewed it, and we do have a handful of cleanup items that I would like to see changed in the agreement between now and the time of execution. So if the board is so inclined to approve the agreement, I would ask that it be made subject to my final review and Ed's execution.
All right, any other questions on the phone system upgrade? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion, we move to approve the agreement with TWT to purchase the 3CX phone system and appropriate handsets for not to exceed $7,107 for the hardware, along with the recurring monthly service charge, subject to legal review and execution of the quote.
Second that motion.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Jim to approve the phone system upgrade, subject to final legal review with TWT, not to exceed amount of $7,107. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, the next item tonight is the Abner Longley Services Negotiation. This is an action item.
It's kind of odd being on this side and not going up to the podium, but I do have John Leitner here from Butler, Freeman, and Seifert, who could help me or help us answer any questions that might come up. This request would allow Lebanon Utilities to negotiate with Bowen Engineering for a development services contract for the future Abner Longley Water Storage Facility. We did advertise this. An RFP for development services was advertised on May 12th and May 19th. Proposals were received on May 26th. We were lucky enough to get proposals from Bowen Engineering, Amoresco, Kokosine, and Reynolds. A scoring committee comprised of myself, Tim Hudson, and Ed Baskell scored the proposals based on the grading criteria provided in the RFP advertisement. Based on the scoring committee recommends that the board authorize negotiations to begin with Bowen Engineering for a development services contract. This contract is anticipated to be brought back to the board on July 7th, after a public hearing is held, which is required by the BOT statute. It's kind of a little bit extra that we do compared to how we normally do things, but part of the BOT is a public hearing where if anyone has any concerns, questions, they can come and explain those and get those on record. And that is a statute in the Indiana Code. The contract will allow Bowen Engineering to work with Lebanon Utilities and BF&S to develop a construction contract with a guaranteed maximum price to be presented for approval for the board at a future meeting. And John or I can take any questions that anyone might have on this.
What are the public hearing details?
Needs to be advertised 7 days prior. Plan on advertising next week if you guys approve to move forward. Today, we'll have that on July 6th and be able to present any comments or questions that we receive that day, the next day to you guys.
So the public hearing will be on July the 6th.
Likely, yeah, that's what
And our regular meeting, next regular meeting is July the 7th.
that's correct.
So are the board members required to be present for the public hearing?
No,
So,
you're more than welcome to be. Is there
yeah, I plan to be. So our contracted representatives and staff will be at the appointed place, and that will be here?
Correct, yeah, we'll work out all the details before the
And
advertising.
we'll receive the public comments, and then a summary of those public comments will be passed along to us at the July 7th meeting?
Correct.
Thank you.
And that will be, we will do that in person.
Yeah, that'll be an in-person.
Yes,
public hearing.
yes, for the public to come to.
I have a question. Maybe legal counsel can clear it up. Should the public hearing be before the Board of Works? I mean, you know what I'm talking?
No, this is no, it would be, it is a, sort of like on a RFP or request for bids where there are at times on certain projects involving state funding.
Okay.
It's simply a period to raise questions, concerns, or objections related to the state funding. And I think, John, you may be able to step into that. I think it's connected to the state funding.
No, this is actually just related to the selection of Bowen as the BOT. This is part of the BOT statute. We already did have our state funding public hearing.
That's what
the
I'm
preliminary
apologizing.
engineering report previously.
Apologize, yeah.
And have gone through that already. So it's not really, we'll listen to objections to the project, but it's more, the public hearing is about selecting Bowen to move
Thank you,
forward.
John.
All right, thank you.
Just one comment, especially as a newer member. You know, in this bid process, you sent out bids to 4 people and all 4 people responded, and that's sometimes not very usual. A lot of times folks will decline, and all 4 were outstanding. So I think that's a kind of a point back to the history of these construction firms with Lebanon Utilities and their willingness to work with us. And I think that was an excellent point that should be made here, is that you've got 4 pretty high-quality contractors that responded and want to do work with Lebanon Utilities.
Good point, Tim. Thanks. Anybody else have anything for John or comments in general?
Should probably point out too, a thanks to Tim for being on the scoring committee, and it was nice to get kind of an outside perspective, differing from just having staff on the committee. So, I think Tim's perspective helped everybody, come, a lot of good conversations, and it was definitely not an easy decision made by the committee.
All right, if there aren't any other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion on this item.
I move to approve the authorization of negotiations with Bowen Engineering for a development services contract for the Abner Longley Water Storage Facility.
Second?
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Aaron to approve the authorization of negotiations with Bowen Engineering for development services contract for the Abner Longley Water Storage Facility. Any other comments, questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, thank you, John, appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Next item is the Sugar Creek Backwash Tank Cleanout. It's an action item as well, and I think Ryan's going to address that for us as well.
Yes, thank you. This is the Sugar Creek water plant. Every time that we clean the filters, that water is discharged into a holding tank where any debris is allowed to settle out and collect in that tank. The tank that we are talking about is not a finished drinking water tank. It is a tank where the debris goes, it is settled out, and then the water is released after a number of tests are ran on it. Per IDEM, this tank clean out has to be done in a specific fashion where the debris is taken to a lab, tested. Once everything in it is identified, then you can take it to the dump, show them the paperwork to ensure that it is dumped in a proper facility, and then we also have the paperwork that shows that we disposed of it in a proper way. We didn't just put it on the ground or haul it somewhere and get rid of it. This is not a required process by IDEM as far as how often we do it. We just don't want the tank to get out of control. So we have tried to put it on a 2-year cycle. The last time we did it was in 2019. Before that, in 2017, it was partially cleaned out. We did not know how to tackle that, so the budget for it and the amount of debris we took out was a small amount. We did have it completely cleaned out in 2019, and I'm proposing that, that's what we do with this budgeted amount. We sent out requests for quotes to 3 different companies. 2 did reply, and it is 2 companies that we have used in the past, so I was happy to see that. One was Eco Eco and Fluid Waste Services. Eco Infrastructure is my recommendation. If on the quotes, you can see that their hourly rate is a little lower, but also their process is different. And by that, I mean, they will pump out into a vac truck and keep a majority of the material as a dry grit. Fluid Waste will liquefy the material, put it in a tanker truck to haul it out. And the reason that there's a little bit difference here is the facility that takes care of the waste charges us per ton. And on that tonnage price, whatever is in the equipment is being charged on that price. So if there is water-based in there, then the water will be charged as part of the tonnage. I did put a not-to-exceed amount of $40,000 on this. It's difficult to estimate the amount of debris in this because this tank is considered a confined space per IDEM. It only has 1 entrance, and it goes from 15 feet deep where the entrance is to over 20 feet deep due to a sloping of the tank. So the amount of debris, you can measure the area of the tank and take an estimate of how much debris we think is in there, but we can't actually put someone in there to go and measure all of it because of the fact that it's a confined space, and to be able to walk around in there, you have to clean the debris out first and then work your way to the back of that tank. I based that $40,000 on the last time we did get it cleaned out. It had over a couple years of debris in it, and it was $48,000. So I'm comfortable with, based on the estimated amount of debris, the amount being a not to exceed of $40,000. This is a budgeted item it was in the budget for $100,000. I don't know if some board members may remember in the past, we had an emergency where a filter actually malfunctioned and dumped anthracite into this tank, so it caused extra debris to be in there. So that's the reason the budgeted amount is so much larger than what I anticipate the tank cleaning out, because you just don't know until you get in there if something has happened and there's more debris than we anticipate. But like I said, with it being a confined space, we can't go down and investigate beforehand. We have to see it as it's being cleaned out. So my recommendations, based on the two quotes, is for Eco Infrastructure to conduct this clean out. And I can take any questions. It was a little bit difficult to get an apples to apples because of their techniques are a little bit different. So that's why the quotes kind of could be confusing if you're just trying to get an apples to apples comparison.
All right, Ryan, thank you. Anyone have questions for Ryan? Comments?
What if you go over the $40,000?
So what we could do is a couple different things. We can stop at just below the 40,000, and like I said, this is a finished water tank. So if there's a little bit left over and we just know next time to change that budget amount in 2 years that it's going to be a little bit more than 40, or what we could do is anything over, we would bring a change order back to the board. But Eco Infrastructure, what their plan is, at the end of each day, they will notify me how much we spent per load. So let's say at the end of one of the days we're at 35,000, we'll know, hey, that's kind of where we want to cut it off. Or if they say, hey, we could get it done and it's just going to barely be over, do you want to go ahead and knock this out? We can make a decision then. But the nice thing about this, with it not being a finished water tank, we can stop it at any time, so we can kind of ensure that budget amount stays there.
All right, very good.
Any other questions for Ryan? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the quote from Eco Infrastructure Solutions in an amount not to exceed $40,000.
Second.
Motion made by Jim, seconded by Aaron to approve the quote from Eco Infrastructure Solutions in an amount not to exceed $40,000 for the Sugar Creek backwash tank clean out. Any other questions, comments?
Oh, yeah.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Ryan. Next item is an action item as well, the Witt Road Bridge Water Main Relocation.
I promise this is my last item. I feel like I'm kind of hogging the spotlight while I'm sitting up here, but the Witt Road Water Main Relocation is a project that was presented to us in January. So unfortunately, it is an unbudgeted item. It was approved for the widening of Witt Road through the city, and their grant was not approved until after we did the budget was approved by Lebanon Utilities. So it was not a budgeted item. This is very similar to the William Street Bridge water main reroute that we had to do when they replaced the bridge there. We bored underneath Prairie Creek and were able to avoid that. Fortunately, with the amount of money that we saved from the original estimate to the cost, we will still have the money for this project that we saved. So budget-wise, we're going to be in about the same price, but it will be two different projects. And John Leitner helped us with this. We did advertise this as well. We had, let me double check to make sure. We had three bidders: TPI Utility Construction, Midwest Mole, and Clark Excavation. And all three, like Tim mentioned earlier, all three are very trusted contractors, and we would have been very happy with any of them. They presented, and after the presentation and after the bids were opened, TPI, Utility Construction, was the low bid for $40,000. This is the same company that did the William Street Bridge reroute, so we're familiar with them, they're familiar with us, and these prices were very competitive and very close, and it was nice, and it was a price a little bit lower than what we expected, which is always a good thing. The reason we do have to move this water main is when they widen the road, at Witt Road, the bridge concrete braces are going to go right on top of where the water line would be. So we're going to adjust that. We have valves on both sides. We'll adjust that. There'll be a minimum outage, and it'll be a pretty easy process for them, and that will get us out of the way, so when the road widening happens for the city, we are out of conflict, and we can just they can move on at whatever pace they want, and we're not going to hold up that project.
All right, Ryan, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Ryan or John on this specific water main relocation?
Just going back past history, so the Williams water main replacement, was it budgeted, or is this similar to this request where we didn't know about it and we're coming up with the funds?
William Street was budgeted.
Okay.
And we did kind of let the city know, whatever they might have in the future, even if it's just a chance that they might get the grant. But I think it kind of happened for them real fast also, so we all were standing out at the coordination meeting, and we're looking around like, okay, how fast can we move this on? But yes, William Street was planned and budgeted.
My concern is how many misses do we have
Yeah.
with regards to these types of projects?
Yeah, I hate to blame COVID for everything, but I believe that the grant money was not available, and then all of a sudden it was available, and the city kind of reacted, and we had to as well, so.
All right, any other questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the award the Witt Road Bridge Water Main Relocation Project to TPI Utility Construction LLC in the amount not to exceed $40,000.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Tim to approve the award of the Witt Road Bridge water main relocation project to TPI Utility Construction in an amount not to exceed $40,000. Anybody have anything else, questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, guys. Next item is approval of our claims, payroll, and transfers. Everyone had a chance to review the claims, and if so, any questions or comments?
I have a question on the payroll. It says $1,081 for transfers. Is that correct, or is that a misprint?
I looked at the details, and that's not a misprint. There was
Seems
just,
to be awful low compared to what we've been doing.
it's sort of, the transfers vary by month and by what's going on. So, for whatever it's worth,
Okay.
Bill,
As long as it's right.
I looked at it and I was comfortable with it.
All right, well, I make a motion to approve the claims payroll transfers dated June 23rd, 2021 in the amount of $2,753,191.32 for claims and payroll, and $1,081 for transfers.
Second?
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Aaron to approve the claims, payrolls, and transfers dated June 23rd, 2021. Any other questions or comments on the claims? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next item is any other business that the board may have. Anybody have anything else for the board?
A question from a ratepayer. What happened with our electricity on last Thursday night? We were out for about 2 hours from about 11 PM to 1 AM.
Tree came down across
Okay. I looked for confirmation of that, I didn't have it. I don't know if there's a way we
I think-
communicate that, because,
I think I saw that was it on Facebook by chance, or the city might have posted it, or maybe it was the utilities, but I can see a
Okay.
picture of a branch on the line, that if I'm thinking of the right one.
yeah. I looked through some city stuff, and this was granted at midnight or whenever
Yeah.
it was in the middle of it, through different things. I didn't see anything, and I was wondering what had occurred, because normally our systems are so redundant, they're very good, but
Yep.
we were out for a couple hours.
Yeah.
So,
We were.
all right, thank you.
Any other business for the board?
Yeah.
You guys have something?
Yeah, I just have an update for the board. There has been some activity on the Yulin project. As a reminder, Jeff Greeno and his crew have completed installation of the primary system in the rear yards of throughout the Yulin subdivision approximately a month and a half ago. And that would make, under the terms of our reimbursement agreement, that started the clock on Yulin needing to complete the secondary system, which are, in essence, the service lines going to each home. Their street lights as well, that are really not of consequence to the utility, but that's part of their project as well. That makes their completion date of the project pursuant to the agreement to be August 10th. Friday, June 11th, we received a revised plan from the Yulin representatives indicating that they were going to be starting work on this plan for the secondary installation on Monday, June 14th. Staff did a quick once-over on the agreement, said we'd look at it as quickly as possible, and early that week, we advised Yulin that the town was not compliant with our standards. And the agreement, the reimbursement agreement, doesn't say that we need to design the system, we just need to have a final say that it works for us. Unfortunately, their plan wanted to try to take advantage of some of the efficiencies of the existence of the old secondary lines, and so it would run from the primary, some new secondary line, and then connect to the old secondary line, which is at best 50, in some places at best 50 years old, and direct bury, meaning it's not in conduit. We advised Yulin a few days, I believe maybe on June 16th, that their plan was not compliant and we were not approving it. A number of folks from Butler Fairman, Alpha, Jeff Greeno, and myself met with Yulin yesterday and reiterated that, in our opinion, the letter and intent of the reimbursement agreement was that they would have a completely new system in their with their secondary system that was in conduit, not direct bury, and that the old system, primary and secondary, would be jettisoned. Their issue is that they just have a lot of things to work around, and it's not easy to run from the primary into the homes and to access the meters, and is pretty costly. I think from the meeting yesterday, they heard us loud and clear. They will be working through that. One of our gives, so the board is aware that they have a street light system. They can use the old secondary for their street lights. We don't care about that. It did come out in the meeting that they have some other creative options like solar, which I was pleased to hear. So it looks like we're on the right track with this caveat. In talking to their contractor yesterday, their engineer, I would estimate best-case scenario on their feedback, from their feedback, we are probably 100 days out from completion of the secondary system and energizing their system. Again, our contracted time period was August 10th. So I am very pleased that they're making forward progress. I'm dismayed that we're getting plans that are not compliant at sort of this late date. Ed was not in the meeting yesterday. He's sort of been briefed by some wonderful note-taking from John Leitner and meeting summary. So we will react in full next week and sort of my recommendation would be to Ed that we let them know that we're troubled by the length of time that this is going to start getting into the fall, and it needs to be completed. My fear is that there'll be some unforeseen delay, and it will stretch out beyond that. As a reminder, the reason that the project was undertaken was to replace an aged system that had underground transformers, and that could have been done more quickly and efficiently if we'd put it in the front yard, but for cosmetic reasons, we're making this accommodation to the town of Ulen. So we're trying to keep their feet to the fire, and we will probably react more fully to the plausible delay here in bringing this to a close. So just a good news, bad news update for the board.
Thanks for the update, Jeff. Anybody else have anything for the board tonight? All right, next item is opportunity for public comment. We have any public comment tonight? Hi, ma'am. You want to step up to the podium? Good evening. If you just state your name and address.
Yes, of course. Good evening, Board. My name is Joyce Douglas. I live at 409 North Meridian Street in Lebanon. Thank you for allowing me to come, and I really want to thank you for changing the meeting to 5 p.m. Really like that. Thank you. I haven't been paying much attention to a lot of things that are going on in the city, but I do have a concern that I wanted to voice in front of the board, if I may. In our neighborhood, and I want to preface this with, I'm really happy there's a lot of growth going on in Lebanon. And we have been waiting for something to be built in an infill near our neighborhood, which is the proposed Ironman Properties apartment complex on North Lebanon Street, to replace the 5 homes that were taken out. My concern is, I started studying and speaking with IDEM and several Lebanon utility staff members, and I tried to reach Mr. Basquel, but he was out of the office. My concern is with what was noted in the Lebanon utility minutes on May 5th of this year in regard to, if I may, and I don't know if anyone's doing the overhead. It stated that the general manager, Ed Basquel, was number 9 on the May 5th. I'm sorry. It's not going to. May 5th, 2021 minutes. He explained about the Lebanon Utility Sanitary Sewer Overflow Response Plan. John Leitner, which I'm glad you're here, sir, commented that there are currently 8 recurring SSOs, which is the sanitary sewer overflow. 3 others were recently eliminated They eliminate the common causes of SSOs and can be blockages, equipment failure, infiltration and inflow, and undersized sewers. In our area, as you well know, it's a historic area. Late 1800s, early 1900 homes are built there. Of course, the sewer is undersized. The infiltration and inflow is disrupted sometimes with a rainstorm of 1, 2, 3+ inches of rain in a short period of time. And we've experienced that problem, and so has Ironman Properties in Memory Hall. My question or concern is that even though the sewer has been lined in that area, I do understand from speaking with IDEM and Lebanon Utility staff members that the developer was expected to put a larger stormwater pipe going all the way to Chicago Street to divert to a larger capacity to the plant. And now we're being told through different public hearings that that's not going to happen, that he was going to connect right to Meridian. And I just want some clarification on that, and also how can things like this size be built when there's still infiltration going on? And the IDEM representative I spoke with wanted me to ask you, he's concerned about the utility easement, that the traffic will still be allowed down the alleyways, which is not a road, onto that utility easement, and we're talking 100+ cars every day. Now, you can't control or predict which way they're going to get in and out. He's provided entrance and exits to North Lebanon Street into the facility. However, he has said that they could enter on the east part and hang a right or a left onto the utility easement. That concerns me too, sir. And I just want to thank the board. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but again, IDEM is very concerned. And he was stating he hopes that the right decision is made because a possible future $8 million+ to take care of problems that might occur, or to go ahead and be active right now and limit the build. He had suggestions of, the immediate question was, are they doing a lift station there? And the second, after I explained the pipe going to Chicago, he said, I'm not sure that would help either. So thank you. Oh, and I don't know who upkeeps the website, but I went to go look at I might have the wrong minutes. I'll ask someone after the meeting about my concern about something else.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, we appreciate that. Any other public comment tonight? All right, my notes say the next meeting will be on Wednesday, July 7th, 2021, scheduled for 5 p.m. Anyone have anything else before we entertain motions to adjourn? All right, I would entertain motions to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Motion made by Bill and seconded by Jim to adjourn. We will stand adjourned. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.